Okay, Danny Clark here again, moving on to day 2 of your MovNat movement sequences for mobility. Okay, you're going to start with some breathing, just like you did last time, lying on your back, kind of just setting your tone for relaxation, which is going to just help you be more receptive to these movements and stretches. Okay, so first movement is going to be what we call the inverted crawl. Really, you're just going to practice a basic version of it, and if you want to, you can practice the actual crawl. Now, this is a great upper body mobilizer. Okay, if you're doing a lot of forward foot-hand crawling, okay, easy to get tight in the shoulders. If you're doing a lot of push-ups or bench pressing, again, the shoulders tend to suffer with a lot of internal rotation. It's a great way to counteract that. So we're going to start in a position we learned last time, which is bent sit position. Okay, so nice good posture here, good position so I could actually see and scan my environment. Okay, I can move my head, and I'm just going to post behind me. Okay, now as I post, what I want to do is I don't want to just plop back and sort of lose my positioning here. You can see right here my spine is rounded and my shoulders are rolled forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to externally rotate my shoulders, so spinning my thumbs away from my midline. Okay, I'm going to press my shoulder blades against my back just a bit, like hugging my rib cage, okay, to activate the right musculature there. Okay, and now I'm going to try to reach back. Okay, and I don't want to just squeeze my shoulder blades together to reach back, although that might be tempting. That's just flaring the ribs. So what I want to do is, just like what I just said, just getting this action of external rotation and pressing the shoulder blades against the rib cage and then reaching from there. Okay, from here you should feel a stretch that goes all the way to the center of your chest. Okay, if this is super intense for you, you can just stay here and breathe. Otherwise, you're going to do some scooting forward first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my hips up, scoot my hips toward my heels. As I do this, I'm not letting my shoulders kind of take that path of least resistance. I'm actually stretching the tight tissue, dropping my hips, and I'm going to reach my legs forward and my hands forward and repeat. Okay, you can do that across your room and kind of spin around and come back for the reps indicated in your movement sequence below. Okay, now if you want to move on to the actual crawling pattern, this is a great way to help kind of boost your mobility a little bit faster. Counter to what you may think, instead of just staying in a stretch for long periods of time, stretching a muscle and using it, making it contract, is a great way to actually loosen up a little faster. Okay, so by being here and lifting and actually moving from this position dynamically, okay, and crawling yourself forward, you're going to get also the same benefits, if not more. Now you'll notice I did forward and backward. In MovNat we don't do backward, what we call inverted crawling. Reason being is it doesn't really have a practical purpose. Whereas forward inverted crawling, not only are we getting more stretch in our shoulders, but it has a practical purpose. That being, if we were going down a slippery downhill slope or a rocky, anything where the surface is unstable or really in a downward incline or decline, by lowering my center of gravity and adding more points of contact, I'm now making it a practical movement that's going to help me perform better in the real world. Okay, and on to the next sequence. Okay, so our next sequence is going to be back in that side bent sit position. And we're going to do some rotational reaching. We did some side rolling yesterday, but today we're going to get that same rotational sort of stretching just by reaching. So now I'm going to establish this position. I'm going to post out to the side, and when I post, I'm going to reach as far around my body as I can. And with this other free hand, I'm going to reach all the way around my body, okay, and just reach as far as I can toward the ground. Trying to keep this knee in contact with the ground. Okay? Now, if that's sort of uncomfortable for you, what you're going to do is just come down to your elbow and then do that same reach. Okay, then I'm going to reverse to the other side, come down either to the elbow and reach. Okay, I'll spin around so you can see a little better. Or, again, my hand, and then reach from this higher position. The elbow could bend slightly, it's not a big deal, okay? Or you can keep it locked out, whatever works. We just don't want that shoulder to jam up into your chin and kind of get crunchy or uncomfortable. Okay, so let's go back and forth. Key here is I don't want to just feel this in my lower back. I want to distribute this rotation among my whole spine. So yes, my lower back twists a little bit, but I want to think about elongating first, and then also getting that in the upper body so that my shoulder blades are separating as I reach. Let my shoulder kind of lead the way toward my thumbs, and all the while, of course, I'm breathing. Okay, this next one's going to be pretty challenging. We're going to do some backward rolling. Okay, and we're just going to do the very, very fundamentals, the very, very basic pattern, okay, to set us up for backward rolling. And right there, we'll get a lot of mobility just in our whole upper back and lower back. So you'll start in a lying position. What you're going to do is just spread your hands out for support and kick your legs straight. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to throw my feet directly behind my head. Okay, and the key is I want to get my head out of the way. I don't want to roll onto my neck. So I'll show you guys on this side. Okay, I throw my feet directly behind my head, and you can see I can still move my neck. And then from here, I'm just going to kind of settle and breathe, straighten my legs if I can, and come back over. Okay, you could do this from the rocking with rocking momentum too. So I would just start up here, roll onto my shoulder, roll back. Okay, and in your program, you're going to see I'm going to have you pause and breathe each time you go over. So however you get over there, again, make sure you're not necessarily on your neck, but you go over. Okay, other hand, this outside hand helps you support. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're just going to breathe here. Because if you're not breathing, you're never going to gain that mobility. That means your body's sort of in panic mode. Okay, we want to be able to relax and open up in these positions. It's not necessarily going to be super comfortable, but the more you practice, the better you'll get at it, and your spine will thank you for it. Okay, our next movement sequence is going to be some kneeling positions. And ideally, we're going to work toward the last position to do on a regular basis, which is kneeling with half kneeling with reaching. But some of these intermediate positions can be really beneficial if you're really tight as well. First position is going to be just a deep kneel. So that's just going to be sitting on the tops of your own ankles, hips on top of ankles, knees in full flexion. Now, if this doesn't feel comfortable, definitely spend time here and spend time pretty frequently. Okay, if you feel it in your knee joints, that's definitely not what we want. We want the muscles surrounding your knee and your quads to open up. So you might want to even sit on something that'll help elevate you if you feel it directly in the joint. Next position is going to be just pushing your hips forward. You can sort of feel a stretch here as long as you're not dumping into your lower back, curling your toes under, and then sitting on your flexed feet. Now, just moving around in this position will help open up your toes. This is a position that you should be able to ideally hold for 5 minutes if you needed to. So spend a minute or a couple breaths here. Next, I'm going to just come to a half kneeling position. And back up so I'm in the frame. Okay, and in this position, what I want to do is my foot can be flexed or pointed, either way. I'm going to first stretch my ankle. Then I'm going to rotate my hips so I can open them up. Heel can come off the ground a little, that's okay. I'm just going to reach forward. And I'm going to breathe here. Okay, and I'm really extending through my back leg, trying to create length all the way through the chain of my leg, all the way to my hand, and breathe and open. And switch sides. And do the same thing. Now you may find that some of these positions are just sort of inaccessible or they don't look as deep as what I'm doing. Just practice patience and progression. Those are the 3 keys. Okay, so make sure you take it in steps. Work whatever level you are at and just don't push too hard because that'll backfire. Okay, keep practicing and let's move on to the next sequence. Okay, and then you're going to do your final movement sequence before your same cross-sit breathing, like we did in our last sequence. Okay, and that's going to be hanging. Okay, so hanging is all about intention. And before you actually hang, let's actually talk about where you can hang. Okay, I have a nice slick bar here, which is going to make my life easy. Okay, if you're at a gym, you might be able to find a pull-up bar or any machine to hang off of. And at home, you can buy some sort of like a perfect pull-up or something to hang off of, and of course do other climbing movements. Now you're going to want something, because this is a really beneficial movement to do frequently, and it just feels fantastic. And it's also going to, of course, build off of what we did with our wall stretch and our wall reach. So technique makes all the difference here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab with an overhand grip. I'm going to let my body weight totally hang. Okay, now from here, I don't want to be shoulders in my ears, just hanging on my ligaments. And I don't want to be like jamming my shoulders down either. So I want to be somewhere in the middle. Okay, and I'm trying to open up my armpit area as much as possible. So what I'm going to do is have some abdominal tension to hold my ribs down. Okay, so it's going to make it a little bit more of a stretch throughout your whole upper back musculature, your chest, all the muscles that surround your armpit area. Okay, so ribs down, look forward, and try to breathe even though you're having some contraction through your abdominal area. Thinking about rotating your shoulders away from each other a little bit will also help. Okay, so that's it for this movement sequence. Again, for the specifics of what you'll be doing, just tune in at the end to the workouts below, and definitely follow up and let me know how you're doing with these. Okay, so after you've done your hanging, again we're going to come back to our cross-sit position and do some breathing. Okay, and really that's the end of both our sequences here. So we have day 1, we have 5 different movements to practice, plus some breathing. And then we have day 2, again 5 different movement sequences to practice, plus some breathing in the beginning and the end. Now the goal here is to practice these as often as you can, and the more you do them, the more efficient you'll do them. So not only will you feel more flexible, you'll feel like you'll get into these stretches and into these positions a lot more easily. Okay, so you can even sometimes move through them faster. I'll be giving you some specific instructions in the workouts below to make sure that you progress a little bit over time, both in terms of how long you do these stretches, but even how you spend time in each of these stretches as well over the course of a couple weeks. I hope this has been very beneficial and useful for you. If you want to check out some more MovNat, this has just been a small segment of what we do. Our goal is to create human competence through natural movements, all the way from these fundamental movements to really high-level movements. So I hope you'll join me, and I hope to meet you in person. Please don't hesitate to contact me, Danny at MovNat.com, with any questions or concerns. Take care.